Hey guys, one of the Mediocre Commentators here, and yes, I know it's been like a month, but look, I've been busy, been trying to catch up on some things, but I'm back. I saw She-Hulk last night, the first episode, and I'm gonna be here to talk about that. And I know, For Love and Thunder, I'm Groot, whatever else has come up, 18 different Marvel movies and shows that you gotta watch in under a day. It's a lot. But I tried to catch up. I wasn't able to get it. There's a lot I want to say about Thor Love and Thunder, but for now we're going to put that in the back burner. I will get to it, just like a bunch of other crap I'll get to one day. But today, I really want to focus on the first episode of She-Hulk and kind of Marvel's tone of direction. But anyways, so She-Hulk, I watched the first episode, and it debuted at a high percentage, except for like on IMDb. I think like men like review bombed it without even seeing it, which is so stupid. Like that bothers me. Like that already sets a good tone for the show for me, because I'm like, well, it's got to be at least decent, because all these men are review bombing it, so I assume it would be at least okay. And on IMDb, on Rotten Tomatoes, it debuted at a 94%, which is incredibly high, but it's still, most of the shows are like that, but I wasn't expecting such a high score. And the reviewers that I pay attention to, and the movie critics that I trust, saying it was just okay, or they didn't like fully truly love it, but it was okay in that sense. So I was like, well, I don't know how this is gonna fare for me, but I watched the first episode, and I gotta say, I'm fairly surprised. This is a really decent start to a Marvel show. It's got this great opening with the Bruce and Jen getting in the car crash, and his blood spills into her, and she turns into the Hulk, and she gets away. Eventually, they meet back on that big island vacation home where Bruce has to teach her how to be the Hulk, and then eventually she leaves at the end of the episode. That's just like a small summary of what happens in the episode. But this show is kind of really funny. I wasn't expecting it to be as funny as it is. I expected it to be kind of cringe laugh, which there are a couple of those, especially some of the fourth wall breaks I don't fully like. And they don't really explain the fourth wall break. I kind of like it like that, because it's like, well, why are they like this? If you never explain it, it's really intriguing. But like, some of the jokes are really funny. Like I laughed out loud a few times during this episode alone, which is only like a half hour long, which is pretty impressive, because usually in Marvel shows I'm like, oh brother, this guy stinks! Also, the CGI on Bruce Banner / Hulk is really damn good. Like, it looks like a movie. It's really good. My eyes gotta get used to She-Hulk. It might just be because I'm not used to seeing that character, and seeing it just kind of weirds me out, and I'm just not used to it. But the CGI did look a little shoddy in some shots, but mostly it looked pretty good. I love some of the drama that the show produces too between Bruce and She-Hulk. It really feels real, and like the show writers really know this Hulk character and are trying to introduce the She-Hulk character. And some of the men and women dynamics, how they might see things differently, I like that. But I also like how Hulk was trying to show Jennifer Walters how to be successful at being a Hulk, but the way she's dealing with it is completely different from what he dealt with. Not necessarily because she's better, but because people deal with things differently. I think that's a good societal comparison on how some people deal with things differently than others. I think it's really a good way to show how things are going on in the real world. The way this show starts is pretty interesting, because they get in this car crash and go off the road because you see a big alien ship, and they turn to get out of the way. And it looked like a ship's from Sakaar, which is odd, because I don't know, I just never thought to see that again. And it made me think that they're maybe building towards an actual World War Hulk movie, which is odd. I thought they had already done that. I mean, they didn't do it, but they did Marvel's version of it. So it's cool to see that they might actually be building towards that, or something completely different. We don't know. Bruce said in the episode, I gotta take care of whatever that was. We still don't know what that is. And from critics who have seen the first 4 episodes, I still don't think we know what that is. But I am excited for the show, what's going to happen, because you got Daredevil, you got Wong. We know those 2 people are showing up, plus Abomination. I'm just excited for this show, which I guess most MCU shows are like that. The first episode gets you intrigued. But this episode was actually really solid. But I guess most of the first episodes are solid. Loki was solid, WandaVision was solid. Falcon and the Winter Soldier wasn't that solid. Episode 1 wasn't, except for like the ending reveal. But no, I'm just pretty excited for where the show can go. And I don't expect it to have some big lasting impact like Falcon and the Winter Soldier or Loki. I expect it to be a contained story about She-Hulk, not this overarching thing that's going to change the Marvel Universe. Although those stories are great, these smaller stories are great too. It's something that we need in the Marvel Universe to get different sides of the stories and different types of genres and such. That's what the comics are all about. Just different types of characters and different types of genres all coming together at some point. And that's what we need in this movie universe. Also, the ending fight when Jen Walters wants to leave the island, Bruce is like, you can't leave, you have to train with me more. And they get into this fight. It's pretty fun to watch because you get like him doing the clap, which we haven't seen since the original Hulk film. And then she tries to do the clap and it doesn't work, but she does like the smaller clap. It's just fun to see. And I love seeing Hulk just like grab her by the head and pushing her forward. Just fun stuff like that. Like, I love that stuff. And then the small character moments in this, like when Hulk was talking about how him and Tony built this tiki bar and they got the initials carved in there. Like, that's small world building stuff. Like how he became the Professor Hulk that we know. He had this little lab, and like just small stuff that we were gathering more from what happened. I think that's cool. I think that's the coolest part of these shows, is figuring out what happened in between the movies and shows. Because we know the big events, but we don't know the smaller events. And that's kind of what this show is, and I like that a lot. I would want more drama with this show. It kind of plays off some of the drama for laughs. Like, they cut away in dramatic moments to just get a laugh. And that laugh is most of the time funny, but when it's not, it really sucks because you're like, well, I could have had a good dramatic moment. And I feel like the show's going to get less dramatic and more funny as it goes along, which I am skeptical of. But if it works out like this episode, I think it can be a really solid show. And the drama that they've put forth is still really good, and the comedy's decent. So I'm hoping they can continue that and keep it going. But all in all, guys, I think this is a solid start to an MCU show. I'm excited for what's to come. But I am weary of what's to come, especially in the last 2 episodes. So that's when Marvel screwed things up. So we'll see. See you guys in the next video. All right, see you.